Hello, everyone. This is George Evans with Convergence, and I'm excited to be here again. And I want to welcome you just to some further thoughts on how to build a world class business development, a world class sales team. Today's theme is playing to win. And I want you to think about that, right? We're all in this game to come out on top in sales. And it's all about executing a well prepared strategy, and it's all about preparing your firm and your teammates and putting them in the best position to win, right? So that's what this is about. I'm going to take you through just a couple quick things that I think have been helpful to me in my career. It does start with kind of a very targeted outreach campaign, right? And thinking about the segments you're going after, the people you're going after, the decision makers. And I've always been a fan of top-down sales, right? Rather than work your way up through the organization. That sometimes is not possible, but if possible, highly recommended. So if you think about it, you've got the call, right? And this is your introductory call. And one of the things I think is really important to do is set an agenda before your meeting. Does everybody read it? Probably not, right? But I think it creates a framework for you and for the potential buyer in terms of what you'd like to cover. So I think it's big. The agenda is big on creating a first impression. I think it helps to set mutual expectations. And I think what you need to think about in that first meeting is, what is the information you're trying to capture, right? What are you trying to discover about that firm? And how are you going to understand the issues and problems that they need to solve? And remember, in one of my first talks on this, one of the oldest problems in sales is feature heavy and benefit light. So it's very important to listen and to understand what this firm that you're calling on is up against, and can you plug in into solving those issues for them. So now you've had your intro call, you've met with them, and maybe now, like Convergence, you're selling product and platform, and a demo is potentially appropriate for a second meeting. One of the things I think is very important is that you demo with authority, and you demo with a high degree of competence and knowledge, right? This is where you're going to establish credibility and establish a rapport with the client. It's where you're going to surface critical, what I'd call litmus test issues with that potential client. And this is really where you kind of figure out the custom needs of that client, right? And not everybody is going to buy off the shelf, right? The old 80-20 rule might apply here. And I think you have to make sure in this meeting you understand that 20% that makes their needs unique, right? And now let's say you've done that demo. So you've had the call, you've done the demo. Now it's all about, post that demo, how do you move the ball forward, and what do you need to do to keep doing that? So in that next call, and I don't want to call it a closing call because normally there's multiple meetings at this stage. This is where you're setting the stage for the partnership, right? You're agreeing on the value, and I want to make this very clear, not the price. You're agreeing on that you have filled a gap, that you have created value, that you can help solve a problem or help someone. So if, for example, in sales, we're helping people go to market, right? And this is where you've become kind of a very credible resource to helping them win at what they're doing, right? So keeping that ball moving forward is important. I think then what you need to do post that is you need to think about how to make this a very repeatable process, right? You want great consistency in how you are staging a sale, right? The intro call, the demos, the calls post that demo, and this this repeatable sales process to me is the key to success. So it's all about consistency, as would be my last point. So that's a little bit on how to win, playing to win, and some of the things I think you need to think about. In my next discussion. I'm going to talk about now, what do you do when that bid is pending? So you've had that third meeting, and now it's about trying to create a timetable and trying to understand the syndication process at that firm. That's very important in understanding timeline and syndication, and we'll talk about that in a little more detail next time. So thank you. I hope this is helpful, and as always, happy hunting. Thank you, George Evans.